with me now, the former Labor Cabinet Minister Joel Fitzgibbon. Joel, so much to talk about. Let's start with the mayhem on the other side of politics, on the coalition side. What have you made of it when you look at the challenges facing Jim Chalmers and the government too on inflation? I mean, we could see on Tuesday the turning point for the economy, but also politically with that rate hike. The coalition, though, has got all the focus on themselves, Joel.
Yeah, it's a good time to have no opposition, that's for sure, Kieran. And opposition they do not have. I mean, the situation on the coalition side is diabolical for a number of reasons. First of all, the faction seeking change can't produce a candidate. Second, the most likely person to produce, or the most likely way someone will produce a candidate, and that could be indeed Susan Lee, is for the person to demonstrate they can deliver the National Party back to the coalition. Because, of course, the Liberal Party can't win government without the partnership of the National Party. So you now have a diminished National Party controlling the future of the Liberal Party. You have the tail wagging the dog, which is pretty extraordinary. And, of course, the last point is they are now past the point of no return. In other words, it's too late for this thing just to go away for the Liberal Party. It will need to come to a head some way. It will need to be resolved. And again, the only way of resolving it, it appears to me, is for someone to demonstrate they can bring the National Party back to the fold.
Yeah, indeed. So you had this extraordinary situation this week. Colin Boyce on this program a few days ago announced the spill. That was a first, certainly for me, having an MP announce a spill on our program, but that's what happened. And then obviously they don't think he's going to win that vote. He's going to put his hand up. But when you get someone throwing a political grenade like that, you just don't know how it unfolds. It can go anywhere, can't it?
Well, the big question here is whether it was a sanctioned grenade or otherwise. We've all seen, maybe not announced on Sky, but we've all seen stalking horses before. That is, people put forward to initiate the spill without any intention of actually running or winning themselves. Now, whether he was acting as a lone wolf or that was sanctioned, it's hard to say, although he hasn't been sort of overwhelmed with people coming in behind him, so he might have been on a frolic of his own. And look, it could be a first step to another departure to One Nation. We shall see.
Yeah, indeed. And for the government, for Jim Chalmers, as we said, they've got some breathing room now, but let's be honest, unless they get a handle on this, we're talking about the highest level of government spending in 40 years since 1986, outside the pandemic. This is, the Treasurer says it's been a few quarters of reducing government, percentage of government spending as a percentage of the economy. That's fine, but people will look at the overall number and say, don't you need to make more space for private capacity? And if you don't, isn't that inflationary?
Yeah, well, again, it's a good time not to have an opposition because the challenges for the government on the economic front are enormous. Look, people in my hometown aren't talking about what Donald Trump's doing or what's happening on, the post-Bondi front. They're still talking about cost of living and the pressures on them. And we now have very sticky inflation driven by both cost push and demand pull factors. And, of course, the crowding out of the market by government spending and the addition it contributes to aggregate demand. So they have real problems and they'll need to resolve them. Otherwise, inflation will remain sticky or even rise. Interest rates will rise again. And there'll be problems for the government on the political front. And I see in the media today those geniuses in Labor's Environmental Action Network want to kill the most productive part of the economy, the mining sector, by attacking again the diesel fuel rebate, a legitimate policy setting which helps that industry to be productive and internationally competitive, an industry which, employs tens of thousands of Australians. So let's put that idea aside.
Joel,
We have poor economic growth or moderating economic growth, economic problems, and these people want to go and kill the most productive part of our economy.
Got some big news now, some breaking news for you. Government sources told me that National Cabinet has agreed on the hospital funding arrangements. We await the confirmation from the Prime Minister at 11:50. They're holding a joint news conference. But Joel, big news. As I say, Sky News can reveal a deal is done on hospital funding. So a relief for all concerned, I guess.
Yeah, that's great news for the government. It's another achievement for that and for Anthony Albanese. So that is a good thing. But we're just talking about, this is an argument about who spends what. Some economists today will be asking, well, what about the amount we're spending? Under the NDIS in particular, where you see a very significant crowding out of the labour market, which is again putting pressure on inflation. So at some point, the government's going to have to become very, very serious about winding government spending further back to take pressure off the economy more generally.
It's a good point. It is a very good point, Joel, because as you rightly point out, this is about how we spend more dollars as opposed to generate them. With the upcoming budget, it looks to me as a really pivotal moment, Joel, because one, in terms of spending levels to rein them in, but also to reform. If the government is ever going to do it with a massive majority and likely another term banked in, barring some extraordinary shock, if you're going to have a structural reform, a legacy reform, in an economic sense, now's the time, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's a bit of mythology here, Kieran. When Hawke and Keating were on their reform agenda, we had a fixed exchange rate. Our pensions weren't means tested or income tested. We had no capital gains tax, no fringe benefits tax. Our economy was internationally uncompetitive. All those things have been done. The real reform required now, I think, is structural reform in the budget, some tougher decisions on spending measures, some contraction of the public sector, which is crowding out the private sector and is adding to aggregate demand and therefore putting pressure on inflation and on interest rates. So we've got to be backing the people who are really productive and are really contributing to the Australian economy. And they are our traditional sectors, which maintain and always have had a competitive advantage. And, that is iron ore.
And it's the private sector, isn't it?
And gas. And
it's the private sector.
It's the private sector.
As opposed to government.
It's private sector earning foreign exchange and keeping the Australian dollar a little higher than it would otherwise be. And, of course, that in itself is taking pressure off inflation. So the focus has to be on giving the private sector a go. And that, of course, includes reducing regulatory burden. If you ask me what is the single biggest thing the government could do to boost productivity in the economy, I would say, and to increase investment in the private sector, I would say do something about the regulatory burden. It's killing our private sector.
Okay. Joel, you've said that to me before, and we will stay in touch and see if there is anything on that in the upcoming budget, because we're hearing that they're going to have to talk cuts and productivity. We'll see where the red tape question comes into that. Thank you, as always, Joel Fitzgibbon.